Hello! I have a lot to share today. I posted on Threads saying my next video is going to have more than 50 photos, and it's because I wanted to share a new recipe. And I tried the recipe from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I really wanted to try it out in different settings. I'll talk about the things I like and don't like, and share the recipe with you towards the end of the video. Before we go into the photos and talk about the pros and cons of this new recipe, I wanted to do a side-by-side comparison. On the left, the photo was taken with the settings that I shared a couple months ago. On the right is the new recipe. So as you can tell, some colors are very muted. The greens are not as bright, the blues are definitely a little muted, and a lot of colors just don't pop out as much. As someone who likes their photos to be a little warmer and more towards the magenta side, this picture, not talking about the composition, but the coloring makes me uncomfortable. I want to slide the temperature scale to the right so it becomes warmer, and I also want to make it a little more magenta, not so green. Although this had a lot of natural light coming in, I consider this to be an indoor shot, so I wanted to take more time, play around with different settings, and see what the colors look like in the sun. Aside from the color profiles, I wanted to play around with the windows, whether that's reflections or taking photos of people through the windows. I think I really like this picture because number one, you're able to get a clear picture of what's happening inside of the cafe. You're able to see the barista making a drink, and number two, you can also kind of see what's happening outside. And in other photos that I took at this exact same spot, you're able to see some cyclists passing by, other customers walking around with their coffee. This spot alone could have produced a lot of stories and different sceneries. So a little backstory about this recipe, there's one that I've been using since the day I got my x100v in 2020. I've used it in the UK, Korea, and so many other places. Because I've been using that for 3 years, I wanted a little bit of change. I wanted to tweak the settings a little bit so they meet my everyday needs. The other two settings I shared in the past, they are versatile, but they're not really for portraits. But this one, I think it's versatile enough to photograph your friends, family, even yourself, and also explore landscape, cityscape, and so much more. The reason why I like this picture a lot is because it doesn't look like I'm in LA. Let's ignore the katakana on the right that says Mr. Just look at the people, look at the colors. It reminds me of some of the photos that I took in Tokyo. Something about this, the warmth, the people, just everything. I feel like I transported to Tokyo for this one shot and came back. I thought this was going to be a little more dramatic. While the shadows are doing a great job separating the people from the darkness, I just thought it would be more dramatic, therefore making a more dramatic picture. And also because I've been exploring the idea of photographing shadows, I wanted the shadow of the guy on the left to be in the picture but not the guy himself. But because of the time of the day and the season, that didn't happen. If I were to try this again in an hour or a few months later, I would definitely get a different result. But at the same time, when some people look at this picture, they might go, oh, this is street photography. Two complete strangers doing candid activities, and the lighting is pretty good. So I think a lot of people would say this is street photography. But me personally, this picture could be a lot better. It could be a little more dramatic. It could have a little more story to it. Based on the last few photos, I think this recipe will do really well in an urban setting, especially when it's raining. I'm noticing that when there's really harsh light, the colors are not as smooth, they're not as vibrant, but when it's a little shaded, not as bright, the colors are very smooth, and the oranges and the greens, they make the photos a little more alive. From here to the end of the video, I used glimmer glass. It's something I like to do at night, so the lights are not as harsh, they're a little softened up, and especially with all the street lights, the glimmer glass makes everything a little more dramatic, a little more cinematic. They just evoke different feelings. When I can, I want to go back here with a tripod and take 2 to 3 photos and make sure there's a person underneath each light. That, I think, will be such a fun photo. Something I wanted to do here, and something I've been trying for the last few videos, was to take a picture of people through windows. I don't know if it's the settings, but no matter how high the ISO was, and no matter how wide the aperture was, I just could not get a clean picture. I don't know what was going on. I think I need to adjust my highlights and shadows a little bit, but otherwise, I think this would have been the nice candid picture that I've always wanted to photograph. As promised, here's a new recipe. When you try it, let me know what you think. I would love to hear about what you liked, what you didn't, and what could be improved.